All right, everybody, how much to pay a BDM? This is the question that I keep getting all the time. I was marked in a post yesterday and a lot of people send me messages, and I'm trying today. I took a personal day off because I have some things going on. So I'm only working partial day, hence the attire. But this is a question that I keep getting asked by restores quite often. As a matter of fact, this is so important that I wanted to share this with some groups that I'm part of, in hopes that people, so that we can get this answered once and for all. Let me see how this can be shared. Facebook keeps changing their features for how things are shared. So anyhow, we'll do the best we can with what we have. Okay, so this question gets asked all the time because I honestly believe that people think that this is a cookie cutter answer of one size fits all. I promise you, just with haircuts, one size fits all ends up not fitting somebody and looking really silly on certain people. So this is a customized answer. As a matter of fact, I offered to connect with some people today. I got on the phone with a few since I was driving. You know, I was doing a lot of medical exams today, a conversation for another time. But I was able to answer the question. And one of the people that I talked to was like, oh my gosh, now I know why you can't just submit paperwork. And if you guys saw my video, my podcast with Alex Duda from Albi, we were talking about cost of customer acquisition, some of these other things. Yes, I do believe that, you know, you share the information for free, you charge for the implementation. But I wanted to give this video out, not to charge for anything, but essentially to tell you guys how the process works. And you do with the information what you will. The first thing that you need to understand about paying a BDM is where that budget comes from. So a BDM's budget comes from your cost of customer acquisition budget. So bear with me. Every job is 100%, right? From this 100%, you want to fill up three major buckets: your profitability, your cost of goods sold, so the cost to deliver on your job. And this works for any business, by the way. And also your cost of customer acquisition. How much did it cost to make the phone ring with that customer, right? And that, believe it or not, is a number that not very many people are accustomed to calculating. So for example, if you're doing Google Leads right now, one of the things that I will ask you to do is, how much did you spend on those last month? How much did it go out? And how much did it produce? And you divide, you know, how much it cost you by the number it was produced. And it's going to give you a percentage. And that percentage is what percentage of that job was put towards getting the customer, making the phone ring, getting that client. That percentage then becomes what you maybe want to define as how much you're willing to pay to get somebody to become your client or to produce the job. So when people ask me, like, how much should I pay a BDM? I like to say that we need to have some data before I can give you that answer. Data number one, what is your average job size? This is very important. Number two, what is your leads to job sign conversion? So for every 10 leads, how many do you sign as jobs? And number three, what percentage of the total revenue that this person is going to produce that you are okay with paying towards that person producing the job? So I'm going to break this down as easily as I can. And some people will find it very beneficial to go through my sales training and also have a consultation with me so that we can work on those numbers together. So let's start with the first number. So there's a direct correlation for a first year of a BDM between activity and results. And this is a hard pill to swallow. Here's why. Because when we look at what a BDM can produce in terms of revenue, this is not a wishful thinking. Oh, I want them to produce $1 million, or I hope them to produce $1 million, or I've heard of somebody producing $1 million. No, there's a direct correlation between the activity they are going to be doing and the results they will be producing. Direct correlation. And here's how the correlation works. For every 3 accounts that you move through your sales funnel, that your BDM moves through their sales funnel, we can have a different conversation about what sales funnel looks like, the questions of the sales funnel. But suffice it to say that those are the number of accounts that they are seeing face to face every single month. For every 3, you're going to produce 1 lead per year in the first year. Okay. So if your goal is to produce 100 leads per year in the first year of a BDM, you need to have what? 300 accounts that they are visiting with every single month, moving them through the sales funnel. And those have to be qualified accounts, which means that we're going to have a process for qualifying them. This is a hard pill to swallow. Why? Because if there's a direct correlation between activity and results, and people are not doing the activity, or they are doing partial activity, they're going to get partial results. I know. Very simple, right? My personal number when I was a BDM, and I did this for 12 years before I became a trainer, before I was in charge of 400 offices at one given time and $1 billion of yearly revenue and all the consulting that I do right now, those were things that I did and lived by. I visited with 400 accounts every single month. Yes, 100 accounts every single week. And I'm not saying this to impress anybody, but to impress upon you the correlation between what you do and what you get. And if you're not willing to do the work, you will not get the results. Okay. So let's say that, most of the people that go through my plan and they go through my sales training and I'm working with them, they do 320 accounts. That means that they're going to be producing after their 90 days of ramp up phase of onboarding, another conversation for another time. They're going to be producing anywhere between 8 to 12 leads per month. So about 106 per year. Now, why do I need to ask you about your conversions? For every 10 leads, how many you signed as jobs? Because if a person is going to be producing, let's say 100 leads and your conversions internally are 50%, that same work, it's only going to produce 50 jobs. And when you multiply that by your average job size, let's say your average job size is $10,000, that's going to produce $500,000. And then if you tell me, well, I only want to pay 10% of cost of customer acquisition, then I'll have to tell you that 10% of 500,000 is 50,000, and that 50,000 will have to cover base pay, commission, car allowance, giveaways, marketing budget, everything that is linked towards producing those 500,000. Do you guys get it? Why this is so important that we look at it strategically? Because it's an important formula that needs to be personalized. I was talking to somebody today who has 80% conversions, and at 80% conversions and over $12,000 average job size, the same person with the same activity through my sales training of 320 accounts will produce close to $1 million. And if he wants to stay with 10% of cost of customer acquisition, he now has 100,000 to structure how much is going to be pays, how much is going to be commission, how much is going to be put towards cars and giveaways and everything else. So because this is a personalized formula, for somebody to say, well, just give me a sheet of how much I have to produce, it doesn't necessarily work because we have to factor in your internal numbers. Now it's when we get things to be very, very boring, and I'm going to share the boringness with you guys. There's two sides to conversions, to leads to job signed, right? Number one is the quality of the lead. Absolutely, the quality of the lead is important because in the digital space, you don't have as much control of your message as you do when you have a person representing your company and talking to another person, right? And even with that, some people that are not being trained properly, they don't know what questions to ask to produce the opportunities they want to produce. And that is why, again, I go back to the sales funnel, the ideal client profile, that being very strategic about the questions that you're asking. This is of so much importance. And people miss the ball and they think that sales is about going in and pitching a message when sales is about understanding who you want to work with, asking qualifying questions and knowing what those qualifying questions have to be at what point of the sales funnel to move people through that process, right? So that's number one. The quality of the lead will impact the conversion. The second impact to conversion is what? Is your team's ability to sell. So you guys might have seen the video of Justin, who has taken my sales training, went from technician to sales guy, and produced $3.1 million in his first year in this position. But what we didn't talk about in that video is that he did one sales training of my in May. Then he put his technicians and all of the team through the sales funnel, through the sales training, sales master's training, 2 other times throughout the process. And that impacted not only that he was able to produce the opportunities, but the team was ready to convert those opportunities. Because if the team cannot convert the opportunities, you're not going to be getting the same results, right? The other thing is the average job size. Now, average job size is something that's a bit more technical because we have to factor in the services you provide, your team's ability to do a good estimate that will capture all the opportunities and line items associated with that job. And for that, I would if Jeff Deem could join in right now, what are the chances that Jeff Deem could join in right now? Let's see. He's super busy. Let's see if Jeff is available to join this right now. I doubt it, but connect with Jeff Deem. I'm going to tag him here on the comments. Connect with Jeff Deem for estimates. This is important, guys, because if your average job size, do the math with me. If your average job size is 5,000 and you're converting 50% of your leads, so 5 times, 5,000. Let me do the math. I know that this sounds so silly, but I hate 250,000 that person is going to produce. Now you see that you're going to have a smaller percentage, or not a smaller percentage, but a smaller budget. So if you say, okay, I only want 10% of cost of customer acquisition, this person right now can only produce 250,000. You only have 25,000 to put as part of the compensation package. My question to you is, how can $25,000 be used towards salary, commissions, car allowance, marketing budget, and all these other things? You know it's not going to work, right? So when I ask people, look, I need your numbers in order to answer your question, I promise you it's because I need your numbers. It's not a sales pitch. I don't even believe in sales pitch. Again, a conversation for another time. But if I don't know your numbers, I can't tell you what your potential is. But let's have look, you're having a candid conversation here, okay, about this. Yesterday, I was interviewing somebody on behalf of one of my clients, and I told this person what the position requires. I said, you're going to be in and out of your car 20 plus times a day. You need to visit with at least 80 accounts every week. And she said, you mean face-to-face? I said, yeah, face-to-face. And she said, that's impossible. I said, well, actually not. In your state, I already have 2 other people on the same program. And she said, well, in my experience, this cannot be done. And I said, well, I understand, but this is what the position requires. Here's what's interesting. In that particular scenario, that person with the average job size, with the conversions, that person was already on track to produce close to 500,000 in revenue per year. That person wanted to do half of the activity that was required for that. They were likely to produce what? 250,000. And with jobs, salary and all these things, it was going to end up getting close to 40%, 40 cents on the dollar of cost of customer acquisition, which means that if cost of goods sold is 50%, the profitability of the company will be 10%. Now, I live and breathe these numbers. I talk about these numbers every single day in consultations. I talk about these numbers so much that sometimes I forget that this is the song that I have mastered and sing about every single day, but most people don't know about this because that is not how they see the world or how they have learned certain things, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But it's why we need the numbers to create the conversation. The conversation is not cookie cutter. The conversation is not a one size fits all. The conversation requires numbers. So here's what I'm going to share with you guys. Listen to this video. Play the questions again. If you want to book a consultation with me, go ahead, send me a DM. My assistant is going to connect with you and it's going to see if we can find a time to meet. But the other thing that I highly suggest, and that is why I created this program last year, there's so many people that wanted to go through my sales training, but they didn't necessarily have the budget or the size of the team to fly me in to spend 2 days with the whole team for a sales initiative. That one of the things that we did was what? We were able to create part of my sales training, which is part of the onboarding system of a lot of big franchise systems, guys. And we turned that into a 12-hour self-paced that was lively recorded sales training that you can take, where all these numbers, all these ideas, everything is going to come together. But more importantly, you're going to have a session with me over Zoom for us to debrief everything. If you feel like this was good for you, comment below. I want this to be an opportunity to answer the question that many people have been asking. So if this was good, comment below. If you need to pause and rewind and play again, please do so. But you guys are asking for a very specific answer, and this is my way to answering that question, considering the variables of that will impact that question. I hope this helps. I'm going to post this on some groups right now with the hopes that it helps other people to get what they want in terms of the answers to their questions. Hope this helps. Have a fantastic day, everybody.